Hey everybody, welcome to my week 6 check-in for my in-season challenge that I'm giving to myself during the WNBA season. Um, just to kind of recap, my goals are to gain about 4 to 5 pounds of lean mass through, I guess, about 17 or 18 weeks, and to lose about 10 pounds of fat mass. So I'm just checking in, just finished up week 6 and wanted to share my progress with you guys. So let me go ahead and make myself smaller here. All right. So let's just check out to start the tracking and kind of what our game schedule was and whatnot. This week, which we're right here, we were at home for the whole week, which is fantastic. We hadn't really had that opportunity in a little while. And you can see I was pretty diligent about tracking my weight and my all of my measurements through this week, in particular just because we were home and it makes it a lot easier. Big thing kind of this week that was just a little bit, not usual. My daughter had her birthday, so we spent, a couple days celebrating that. And why a couple days? Basically because my work schedule wouldn't really sort of let us do kind of one full birthday celebration. So we sort of split it up into 2 days, which was a lot of fun. All right. Something to notice right off the bat. I lost over 3 pounds through this week, which was definitely a surprise to me. If you look at the calories outside of this day, which I think was that was her birthday. My calories were pretty consistent. We'll see how I did based on just compliance here in a second to see if we can figure it out. But not totally sure why I lost so much weight. On the resistance training, got in my lifts as scheduled. My cardio, mostly just did walking this week. And we'll see again just how I did on compliance with steps and all that stuff. Did an all right job tracking sleep. Food focus, you can't really read it. Food focus, energy, hunger, soreness, the deep sleep that I like to track. Didn't do a lot of the sleep tracking. A couple times I didn't wear my watch at night, but still just getting about an hour of deep sleep. Soreness wasn't too bad until the end of this week, and I just started just feeling absolutely crushed. My resistance training volume is just kind of steadily ticking up, like I'm adding more weight. I've added for the second phase of the program. I have some more sets in for the lower body. And it was just kind of catching up with me. I was pretty sore. Hunger, had a couple days of being really hungry. My energy levels have been okay. One day that was low. And then food focus still pretty low. So all in all, looking pretty good there. Let's just check out what my progress was. All right, so here's week 6. There's the weight. So my weekly average weight, if we look here, was 156.6. And so that's only going to be, so that's only like 1.6 pounds, even though from start to finish, I lost 3 pounds of scale weight. I'm using that weekly average just because weight fluctuations can be really great kind of from day to day, depending on your hydration, like what you've been eating the day before. For every gram of carbohydrate that you consume and that's like stored in your body, it's associated with 3 to 4 grams of water that's held onto. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't eat carbohydrates. And this is where, getting into the keto diet or keto, I guess in particular, but even like Whole30, where they're trying to be really nitpicky about what type of carbs you eat. Do you eat carbs or not? It's all just a bunch of kind of garbage, in my opinion, because your body needs water. Like that's really important for it to function. So you don't want to, you don't need to feel like you have to get rid of carbohydrates just to see weight loss. You just need to be consistent with the way that you eat. And if one day you're no carbs and the next day you're eating like you're running a marathon, you're going to see huge swings in your water retention. It doesn't mean that you're gaining weight, like body fat, not at all, or even muscle mass. It just means that it's water fluctuations in your day. So anyhow, back to my weigh-in, even though I saw a large drop in terms of the daily measurements, my weekly average was only down a pound and a half. That is a little bit of a faster rate of loss than I'm wanting. I'm only wanting kind of at most like a pound. So we'll make some adjustments there. And then you can see my total weight change since I actually started weighing myself is 4.5 pounds. On the waist, that's just continues to kind of tick down just a little bit at a time. And I've said this before, I think the waist is a decently stable way to measure progress for yourself. You could also do, hips as well. But waist is fairly stable. And so that shows me again that I'm going in the right direction. Highlighted this just because it was Arabella's birthday. And I just enjoyed the day, right? Like that's kind of what life is all about. And, you can still make body composition changes and enjoy your day-to-day life. Like through this process, I've been by far the most flexible and varied with what I've been eating ever. And it's working really well. I'm just doing, for the most part, like estimations. I think I talked about this in last week's update. Estimations of the food. If I happen to be at home and I want to know what something is weighing to be a little bit more accurate with my calorie reporting, then I'll do it. But by and large, like I'm eating breakfast in a place where I can't measure it. I don't exactly know what the ingredients are, so I have to estimate. Same thing for lunch. I have to estimate. So it's a lot of estimation to get what these calories are. And so while this looks really, really specific and exact, it's really just populated with my best guesses on the majority of what I'm eating. So I wanted to let's take a second to just check over here. I wanted to show, this was not on her birthday. This was the next day. And this was literally my pre-bed meal. I probably went to sleep, 30 or 40 minutes after this, and woke up lighter the next day, right? So my point here in showing this is, number one, here's how I tracked it. So I had a protein shake and then, a pretty decently sized slice of cake. And I just showed sort of how I estimated it. I think it was a serving size. I didn't go overboard. It wasn't, maybe the more generous size I would have wanted to give myself at other points in time, but I tried to be restrained and just enjoy it, be smart about it. And again, I paired it with a protein shake. So 430 calories, 29 grams of protein, 41 grams of carbs, and 18 grams of fat. That's a decently balanced meal, to be completely honest. It's a very decently balanced meal. And so this example is just to show, like, you can fit these things into a fat loss diet and still be on progress. Now, the thing I didn't have is I didn't have, a piece of cake that was 3 times that size, right? That would have been a poor choice, but this type of choice really turned out to be a decent meal, like I said, good macro balance, and fit in with my day, and as the last meal of my day, like rounded out my day really well. So it was pretty cool. If we go back to the progress tab here, so we can kind of check out my compliance, calorie protein steps, calorie compliance, 99%. I did drop my calories ever so slightly for week 6, from week 5 into week 6, because I actually thought that I was going to plateau a little bit. And we can see that didn't happen. My protein compliance was 100%. And then my step average, I didn't quite make that happen. My goal is to get within about 5% to sort of consider myself compliant. So I was a little bit under. and I'll try to do a little bit better on this upcoming week. The resistance training volume, if we go back to like how I was saying how sore I was, you can see even just from week to week, I'm up about 10,000 pounds lifted, which would be, apparently pretty significant. It sounds significant, right? It felt significant for my body. And that's the second week in a row of increasing volume by about 10,000 pounds each week, although this one was 15. And just this was the week when I had to cram in a bunch of lifts that I'd missed from the week before. So anyhow, week by week, like I'm ticking up the volume pretty solidly. And so just from the last couple weeks, I've gone up about 25,000 pounds lifted. And so my body was definitely feeling that. But I'm really pleased with how things are going. Again, like despite, if we go back to what that weight loss was and just how I'm going to kind of interpret it, I think being at home may have sort of fueled into why that drop was so much, because I was eating probably a little more consistently. I was definitely sleeping more consistently than the other weeks when we've been traveling a lot. And that type of thing can make a difference. I think as well, the other part of that being how I'm feeling, right? So like if I'd lost those 3 pounds and I just felt like absolute garbage all week and my energy levels were low, that would be something to take note of. But in this case, when we see here, all right, well, I'm still getting stronger, like I'm still able to do more work. That's pretty positive. And then over here, this is the weekly active energy. So this was actually down a little bit for the first time since, what was this, like week 2. So that's something to take note of. I'm just making a mental note of this. Your body like naturally figures out ways to move less when you're in a caloric deficit. So I just want to kind of keep an eye on that and see if we can get it back up to sort of that usual around 5,800 to 6,000 calories per week this upcoming week. But that's just like a sneaky way that your body adjusts. Like you just literally move a little bit less. So all in all, pretty happy with everything. Still moving in the right direction. Again, like my strength is improving. So that tells me, perhaps I am actually building some muscle here. I'm certainly getting stronger. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And I'm definitely losing some body fat. Alrighty. So adjustments that I'm going to make for going into week 7. So you can see last week, I think I forgot to even talk about this. I did drop my calories a little bit to just make sure that I was still going to be losing into the upcoming week. I thought I felt a plateau about to happen, but I think I was wrong. So I'm going to take it back up to these week 4 and 5 targets. With the calories, keep the steps the same, and we'll see how that goes. And then if we take a look again to plan for this upcoming week on week 7, I want to take a look at my schedule, right? So I'm trying to get in all of this movement. I'm trying to get in the lifts, all of these things. And if I look ahead to week 7, I can see, okay, we've got a West Coast trip coming up that'll go into week 8. So what I want to do is start planning ahead on how does the travel that starts on this weekend, how does the travel potentially affect my training? What do I need to adjust? And then also thinking ahead to what type of food is available around where we stay in these hotels. So really briefly, like what I'm going to end up doing is I'm probably going to end up training the Monday lift that I normally do. I'm going to do that on Sunday because we're scheduled to leave that evening. And I know on Monday it'll probably be a pretty tiring day. So that's where I'm going to get that done. So this will just be kind of an off day from lifting. I will find a gym to go to once we're in LA, and then I think adjusting from there, I should be able to kind of get my lifts in pretty easily around our travel. And then the other thing that's like really important for me to think about on these longer trips is what's the situation with food. I've said before, I don't love eating out all the time. I'll go out some, but I really just like to have kind of some staples with me. So in LA, there's a couple grocery stores, a Whole Foods within walking distance, so I'll take advantage of that. The big one that I always try to keep in mind is when we go to Vegas. Vegas just like, I think the closest place for me to like get any kind of like yogurt or sort of like, it's not even a grocery store. I think it's a drugstore, CVS or something. And it's about 3/4 of a mile, if not a full mile away, to walk to. So it's just really hard to get food to kind of like easy food to have on hand. So that's one that is always like, I have to keep in mind what am I going to do to have that food available? And then in Minnesota, there's a Whole Foods within like walking distance of where we stay, so that shouldn't be too big of a deal. But I will plan ahead and pack some stuff to take with me. It's probably going to be some yogurts, Perfect bars, which are one of my favorite things. Definitely bring some tuna and berries, carrots, stuff like that, to get me through kind of the travel day if I need something like that. And make sure I have like good healthy snacks when we arrive for that first day in LA. Then I'll definitely make sure that I restock anything that I need for the trip to Vegas, as far as like, I always like to have like yogurt and berries with me, and some salad. So I'll make sure that I have some of that with me for our trip to Vegas, because it's just really hard to get that type of stuff unless you're eating at a restaurant. So that's about it for this week's check-in. I think everything's going really good. Really happy with the progress, and I'll be getting a DEXA again soon. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm like very anxious to see what the body composition changes have been, because that'll give me a lot of information about the next half of finishing off my